A major aspect of the Pokemon franchise is being able to bring your Pokemon with you as the series progresses. A Pokemon you caught in Generation 3 all the way back in the early 2000s can be brought with you all the way up to Pokemon Home, and you can then place it into any Switch game that it's compatible with. While this is an impressive feat by itself, you can take it a step further. The Pokemon franchise is no stranger to spin-off titles, and a good few are able to communicate with the main games in some form. Whether it's through using your team to battle, trading, or even just transferring, there's quite a lot of Pokemon you can obtain solely from side games and then transfer into your main series games. While not available to make the whole journey, the Stadium games do grant gifts for the first and second generations of games. Stadium 1 has a very cool selection of gift Pokemon. For whenever you defeat the Elite Four and your rival in the Gym Leader Castle, you are randomly given one of the following Pokemon: Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Eevee, Omanyte, or Kabuto. As you may notice, these are all Pokemon that are locked behind choices in the Generation 1 games, allowing for players to not worry about missing out on anything if they don't have an extra game or a friend to trade. That's not all for Stadium 1, however, for if you register all Pokemon into the Hall of Fame, you are gifted a special Psyduck that knows the move Amnesia. Stadium 2 massively scales back the Pokemon it gives out, only having a mere 2. Defeating the special rival battle in Round 1 will get you a Baton Pass Farfetch'd, while beating the special rival battle in Round 2 gets you a Gligar that knows Earthquake. While these 11 Pokemon are technically not able to make it out of the first 2 gens, you could possibly convert a save file of a cartridge and inject it into a Virtual Console release. Now, we move on to Pokemon that are able to keep moving along with us, and we will start with the biggest source there is, Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness. These 2 GameCube titles allow for you to catch Shadow Pokemon that, once purified, are able to be traded to the main series Generation 3 games. In Colosseum, you start with an Umbreon and an Espeon, are able to catch 48 Shadow Pokemon, as well as an additional 3 Shadow Pokemon that are locked behind the Japanese version of the game, as well as some e-reader cards, a gift Plusle you get during the main game despite there not being a mine-in obtainable, and if the 48 base game Shadows are purified and you beat Mount Battle, you can receive a Ho-Oh. XD has you starting with just an Eevee, provides you with 83 Shadow Pokemon to catch and purify, including the magnificent Shadow Lugia, 9 different wild Pokemon you can catch, 3 Pokemon you can trade for, a special Elekid you can get if you return a Togepi after purifying it, and you can get the Johto starters if you beat Mount Battle, and this is repeatable, allowing you to get all 3. These games have a lot of Pokemon you can swap over, so many that I can't even list them all without extending this video by a ludicrous amount. This isn't exactly all for these titles either, for Colosseum has a bonus disc, 2 to be exact. The Japanese bonus disc grants the player access to Celebi if they have a completed save file of Colosseum, as well as a Pikachu, to be sent over to Ruby and Sapphire. The North American disc grants the user Jirachi, however, and unlike Celebi, it has no restrictions on its ability to be distributed. To make sure that the PAL regions were not left out of the mythical fun, the PAL version of Pokemon Channel allows for players to send a Jirachi to the main games. While the GameCube games have a mess of shiny locks, the 2 Jirachis are not locked, and so they are able to be shiny hunted if you're crazy enough to attempt it. Still on the GameCube, we have Pokemon Box, a Pokemon storage application much like Bank and Home, so much alike it's even run by Bridget, who would go on to run Bank, before sadly being replaced by Grand Oak in Pokemon Home. This application will grant the player some gift eggs for reaching certain amounts of Pokemon stored, and they all come with moves that they usually don't learn. At 0 Pokemon stored, you get a Swablu egg that has the move False Swipe. 100 stored grants a Zigzagoon egg that has the move Extreme Speed. 500 stored grants a Skitty egg with the move Payday. And storing a whopping 1,499 Pokemon will grant the player a Pichu egg with the move Surf. Due to these being distributed as eggs, they'll have the OT and ID of the main game that hatches them, making them a lot more unrecognizable of being Pokemon from side games than some of the others. Moving on to the 4th generation, we have a range of side games and methods of getting Pokemon to send to the main series games. Pokemon Battle Revolution, a battle simulator much like the Stadium games, have a couple gift Pokemon you can receive. By using codes, the player can receive an Electivire and a Magmortar to send to Diamond and Pearl. This isn't all, however, for upon completing the game, the player is able to get a Pikachu to send over, with it knowing both Surf and Volt Tackle. My Pokemon Ranch, a no longer obtainable WiiWare application, was a storage-like system on the Wii. The ranch's owner, Haley, will offer to trade you Pokemon, requiring you to trade a Pokemon chosen at random. There is a total of 20 of these trades. There are also 2 special Pokemon you can trade for. Once you import 250 Pokemon to the ranch, you'll be offered to trade a Leafeon for Haley's Fione. And once you import 999 Pokemon, you'll be offered to trade an egg for Haley's Mew. Moving away from home console games for the first time, we land to the Ranger games. The Pokemon Ranger games are a spin-off series where you play as a Pokemon Ranger, featuring a vastly different gameplay style. Each of these games features special missions that allow for you to transfer Pokemon to the main series games. The original Pokemon Ranger game lets you access a special mission in the post-game that allows you to transfer a Manaphy egg to the main series games. This comes with a massive asterisk, however, for the egg is limited to 1 per game. No matter how many times you have beaten the game, you are only allowed to transfer the egg once. If you happen to have a DS or a 3DS that is modified, it is possible to reset the game fully, which allows for the egg to be able to be transferred once again. In Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Elmia, the special missions become locked behind Wi-Fi events, meaning they are no longer accessible by normal means. This game allows for players to send a Manaphy egg, a Riolu, and a Darkrai to the main series games. Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs continues to have the special missions locked behind Wi-Fi events. This game's special missions grant the player a Manaphy egg, a Deoxys, a Heatran, and a Shaman to send to the mainline games. If you couldn't tell, these games were the main way of obtaining Manaphy, yet that didn't stop them from keeping it highly limited. The latter 2 games having the missions locked behind Wi-Fi events are annoying, as that's full-on content locked behind these limited time events. They have a good spread of Pokemon given out though. Deoxys, Darkrai, and Shaman themselves, at this time, they were still locked to limited time events, so an extra way to get them is nice. The Riolu and Heatran are a little weirder as those both are easily obtainable in the Sinnoh games, but are cool special Pokemon nonetheless. Heart Gold and Soul Silver came with the Pokewalker accessory, which was a pedometer you could transfer a Pokemon to and take for a walk. During your walks you can earn watts, and then catch Pokemon to bring back with you. The Pokemon you could find depended on what route you chose, and those could be earned by collecting watts, and some were special mystery gifts that you could claim back in the day. Moving head on to the 5th generation, we come to the Dream World. The Dream World was a mechanic where you could put a Pokemon to sleep in the Unova games, and then you could access the Dream World through the Global Link website. This application allowed for you to decorate a home, grow some berries, play some minigames, and most importantly, catch some Pokemon. Everything gathered during a visit could be found in the entry forest in the center of Unova. You would be given Dream Balls to catch the Pokemon that came to the forest, and in these games it acted similarly to a Master Ball. These Pokemon would all come with their hidden ability if they had one. It was a fun thing to play around with, however it unfortunately had a very short lifespan, only operating for just over 3 years. Staying with the theme of dreams, we have the Dream Radar, which was a 3DS downloadable title that coincided with Black 2 and White 2. This game made use of the 3DS's motion controls and AR capabilities. In this game you shoot orbs and catch Pokemon that can be transferred to Black 2 and White 2, and they will be sent in their Dream Balls and have their hidden abilities. There's a short list of normal Pokemon that can be found, but the main event was the introduction of the Therian forms of Thundurus, Tornadus, and Landorus. This game not only introduced these forms, but was an intended way to obtain these Pokemon overall, as they were absent from Black 2 and White 2. There's also a secret list of legendaries obtainable, for if you have caught Landorus, and have a Generation 4 game inserted into the 3DS when playing the game, you'll be able to obtain the box legend of that game, meaning you have access to Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, Ho-Oh, and Lugia, all with their hidden abilities. A last little tidbit before moving on, you play as an assistant to Professor Burnett in this game, who will show up later in the Alola games, which is a nice little bit of world building. For a brief point in time, Pokemon made demos for the upcoming mainline titles. The first one was for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. In this demo, you take on either Team Aqua or Team Magma, chosen at random, and get a short, unique story to this demo. During this demo, you catch a Pokemon that is capable of Mega Evolving. In the Japanese demo, you catch a Steelix, and in every other region, you catch a Glalie. Once you've completed the demo, you gain the ability to transfer this Mega Pokemon and its Mega Stone to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The second and last demo was for Sun and Moon, where much like before, it features a little short story exclusive to the demo, just to really get a taste of the game. This demo really ups the ante for the gift Pokemon, for it gives you the Battle Bond Greninja, which is able to transform into Ash Greninja. This Pokemon is obviously able to be transferred to the Sun and Moon games. This is, to this day, still the only way to get a Battle Bond Greninja. Add in that the demo is no longer obtainable. You could say that this Pokemon is lost to time. As the spin-offs that can send Pokemon to the mainline games dwindle, there was a game that originally couldn't, but eventually gained the ability to do so. Pokemon Go, love it or hate it, has completely taken over the quota for spin-offs sending Pokemon to the mainline games. Hell, it even has its own Pokedex in home. When the transferability was first introduced to Go, it could only transfer the first 150 Pokemon, as well as Meltan and Melmetal, and only to the Let's Go games. A while later, the option to transfer Pokemon straight to home became available, allowing for most non-shadow, non-costume Pokemon to be sent over. Sending a Pokemon to either Let's Go or home gives access to use the Mysterious Box in Go, which spawns Meltan. Also, the first time you send a Pokemon directly to home, you receive a gift Melmetal with the Gigantamax factor in home. The Pokemon sent directly to home will have a Go stamp visible on them whenever they are in home, a very annoying decision in my opinion. However, sending them to Let's Go first removes this. Touching on Let's Go, sold alongside these games was the Pokeball Plus controller, which was a Pokeball-shaped controller only compatible with Let's Go. This controller lets you stroll with your Pokemon kinda like the Pokewalker. It can work like a Pokemon Go Plus, and importantly, it comes with a Mew. Specifically, just one Mew. If you get a brand new Pokeball Plus controller, you can do a one-time transfer of a Mew to one of the Let's Go games. Our last stop is in Bank and Home, the online storage applications for the 3DS and Switch respectively. While these are different applications, they serve the same main purposes, storing and transferring Pokemon. Both of these applications have given out gift Pokemon for one reason or another, like Bank giving out Celebi to celebrate its launch, or Home giving out the original color Magearna for completing the national dex. While all of Bank's gifts were limited time, a majority of Homes are forever obtainable, requiring tasks like depositing a Pokemon from a certain game, or completing certain challenges like using the GTS. Alright, that should be all the Pokemon from outside the main games that can be sent to the main games. It's possible I missed one or two somewhere along the line, and if I did, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, a like and a subscribe would be greatly appreciated, as they truly, really do help out this channel. If you want to further support the channel, consider becoming a member. Doing so grants some perks such as having your name appear on screen in videos right about now. With all that said, this has been Big Blast 99. I would like to thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have yourselves a goddamn good one.